welcome to the show. Today is January 27th, 2023. We are nearing the end of the month. Let me start by saying that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Today we'll be talking about what used to be stock symbol MMTLP, what is now the new private company Next Bridge Hydrocarbons. There have been recent announcements of 40 million shares being offered. We're going to talk a little bit about OccupySEC2023 and FINRA's response to Rosa's response. So, there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening lately. I'm Tony. This is Market Moves. You wanted a video. I had a little bit of time, so here we go. This is what's going on. If you are not familiar with the story of Next Bridge Hydrocarbons or stock symbol, or what used to be stock symbol MMTLP or Metamaterials, I suggest you check out these videos. There are two videos from which have John Brda prominently displayed in them. John Brda is the guy on the left. He is the former CEO of Torchlight Energy, and he can tell you a lot. So in the first video, he talks to the Marine Activist channel, and he tells you the story of stock symbol MMTLP, Torchlight Energy, in his own words. It's really very good. It's about almost 40 minutes, but it's well worth listening. Even if you know the story, you may not know everything that Brda has to say, so check it out. The other one is more of an interview-style format video. It's about 45 minutes with Roger James Hamilton, and Roger also has suffered at the hands of short hedge funds and short sellers, so he's got a lot to say there. Prior to me finding out about these two videos, I had my own take on this. This was a long, long time ago, where this was my take on stock symbol MMTLP, the 3.2 billion barrels of oil in the ground, all that stuff, and it talks a little, and it incorporates elements of the story. That's about a 30-minute watch, so it's a little bit lighter than the other two, but I highly recommend John Brda's videos. Check them out. So the way I look at it, MMTLP and Next Bridge Hydrocarbons is a real-life story. And it's a real-life story about 3.2 billion barrels of oil in the ground in West Texas, near El Paso. There are pipelines that are nearby. Okay, this is a story that's actually happening in real life. It's a story about a company that was formed, a wildcatting company that found this oil, what it takes to bring this oil to market, what it takes to actually develop this oil, etc. There's capital markets intrigue, short hedge funds attempting to destroy the company to get their own for their own profit. There's even possibly nefarious intrigue happening with regulators, and it's not a movie; it's real life. So check it out; it's quite interesting. We'll see how that story ends. Remember, I said that the first video was, the two John Brda videos were very interesting. I'm gonna play a clip from the first video. This is about 14 minutes into the video or so. Check out what he has to say, okay?
When we started the program, we had about 5-6 million shares short, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. Fast forward to the merger close, we had over 50 million shares short.
Wow.
And so,
real quick, you said you guys raised funds and you paid off all your debt.
We didn't have to raise funds. Our debt had conversion features in that above market.
Oh, okay. But you were able to get rid of all your debt.
Yeah, so as the stock appreciated, those debt holders converted, and whether they sold or held is irrelevant. All I knew is they converted, and we announced it, and it kept getting more momentum.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, and so that was a great thing, great development. We're in the middle of our proxy. We get it filed in order to have the shareholder vote, and we have like 5 days remaining for our financials go stale. So I get a call from Roth Capital and have a great relationship with them. We've done business with them for many years. And this is Super Bowl Sunday of 2021, Super Bowl Saturday, I should say. And he said, look, I've got some investors that want to buy stock. My first question was, investors, air quotes. And I said, Alex, the stock has gone from $2 down to $1.65 in the last 3 or 4 days on big volume. I said, tell me who the investors are. And he said, well, if you want to move forward with a raise, I could probably get, 40, 50 million done. And I'm like, 40 or 50 million? I said, how short is this? And so I went back to both boards. And we basically said, look, we can do this raise. We can print it Monday morning. You know, what do you guys want to do? When we knew that we only had 4 days left before the SEC, if the SEC didn't approve our proxy, we couldn't raise money for another 90 days. It was impossible. So the board decided to raise money, only 25 million with the shoe, which is another 10%. But the one caveat that I told them, I said, look, we'll do this, but I have to approve every shareholder that gives stock. And I said, so I want your capital markets desk to go back and get me the list of people who want, you know, the securities. And so they gave me a list. It was like $50 million worth of demand. And I went through line item by line item, and some people got some and some people got none. And I know who the violators are. I know who the Reg N violators are. As a CEO, I do my research and I understand good guys and bad guys. And those guys who were with me and done business the right way and done business legally, they got the stock. And there was one fund in particular, I won't name them, but they wanted the entire allotment. And it's not because they wanted to go long. Trust me, they didn't want to go long. They needed to cover a short. Well, that's 25 million shares at $1.20. It's a lot of shares they would have had to cover, right? So guess what? They got zero allotment, and the stock, as expected, traded down to about $1.30 the next morning. And then when those people realized they weren't getting stock, then the stock started going up because they were covering. And so as a CEO, I will tell this to all CEOs watching, be cognizant of your capital raises. You know, a problem in your company, a hiccup in your company is not going to ruin you, but a bad financing will destroy you. Be cognizant of who's in your deal. Be cognizant of who the broker dealers are bringing to the table, and be cognizant of the structure. It's a huge deal, and it's very important.
It's a huge deal, and it's very important. Look at that. I mean, that's just, that whole video is amazing. Just check out the whole video. I mean, the fact of the matter is shorts came and they wanted to buy shares dirt cheap from the company because they knew they could get it at a fixed price without moving the price by buying it directly from the company. And you know what? They got zero. They got zero. Why did they get zero? Thanks to John Brda. Thanks to John Brda, those shorts got zero and the price started moving upwards immediately afterwards when they found out they would be getting zero. So fast forward to what happened just a few days ago. We have a capital raise, and we have a capital raise that is coming from, what's this? Roth Capital Partners. Oh, that sounds familiar. 40 million shares of common stock. Okay. Offering price, unknown. No price is given right now. Placement agent fees, we don't know that. Proceeds from the fees, proceeds before expenses, it's all that. We don't know. No dates, no prices given. And after this happened, right? So we got no dates, no prices. And we know that John Brda has been incredibly quiet about this. Ever since that news came out, John Brda, who was very loquacious in the last few weeks or so, has been very quiet. So I'm wondering, could he be advising Next Bridge about this 40 million share sale? Maybe he's prevented from talking due to Reg FD, right? He talked about Reg FD in those interviews. Check it out. Basically, what that means is that the only information that someone who has inside information is allowed to give out, or the only information someone with inside information that they're allowed to talk about is stuff that is on the stuff that is a press release from the company. So it has to be told to everybody at the same time. And that can only happen via press release. Even if he talks on Twitter, Twitter is not considered everybody, right? So basically what happens is that as someone with knowledge who wants to disclose that knowledge, if the company wants to disclose that knowledge, they have to do it via press release. This is the only way to get knowledge out to everybody at the same time about that company. So I don't know what's happening with the 40 million share sale. I think it's a positive for us, really. I do. It could be a variety of people, but certainly it will bring in dollars to Next Bridge Hydrocarbons, which is a positive. John Brda could be involved, which is a positive. The way I look at it, that would be a huge positive if that's the case. I'm not saying it is. This could be money that is coming in as a feeler from, possibly broker dealers who want to see, is Next Bridge willing to sell some shares? And, that has an answer. This is all positive, is the way I look at it, right? This could even be a large oil company that's saying, hey, look, we want to get some shares before anyone else does, because we might want to buy up the entire assets. Let's see what we can do, right? There's all sorts of possibilities here. I don't see this as a negative right now. I see this as a positive. I hope you do too. Okay. Although this is dilution, it's dilution, but it's going to bring in a lot of income into the company. How much income? I don't know, but I trust John Brda to do the right thing by shareholders. Don't forget, he himself has 2 million shares. So if he does the right thing by shareholders, he himself will profit quite well. So let's talk a little bit about what's been happening today. Today, if you've been living under a rock, you might not know that today was OccupySEC2023, and this is basically what's been happening outside of SEC offices. These particular pictures happen to be outside of the Washington, D.C. office. You'll see a lot of very familiar faces here. For instance, there's a large group of people outside the SEC office here. Uncle Smokey did a tweet with a picture, which is really cool. A lot of banners, a lot of signs. The SEC is well aware, and the public and media are becoming aware of this due to these demonstrations. They're aware of what's going on, and that awareness has ramifications and has impact. Okay. So Uncle Smokey says, here's to every CEO that is helping retail investor. We got your back, right? Basically, John Brda says, if you are a CEO and your company is being shorted into oblivion, chances are the only investors that you have are in retail. And if you take care of retail, retail will take care of you. They'll have your back. The interesting thing to note is, have a look at this over here, okay? Actually, I'll get to that later. Let's go to the next one. Here we see Syntax, Queen of the Metaverse, and we see Lady Justice over here as well too. Justice is blind, they say, and she's got some scales that she's holding up, and in this case, we'll see if Justice is blind. We hope that things work out appropriately for us. But the regulators are clearly not blind. FINRA has been, just from the FINRA fraud fiasco that's been going on and the FINRA fraud hashtag that's been spreading around, we know that FINRA seems to have some issues right now. And they're actually defending themselves against a lawsuit by shareholders. Just think of the irony of that, right? FINRA, which is a self-regulatory agency whose purported mission statement is to protect shareholders, to protect retail, to protect the common person in the markets. They're being sued by retail, okay? They're being sued by retail for non-monetary damages because they're not allowed to be sued for monetary damages. And they've decided they will defend their lawsuit by retail because retail is the bad guy that they're trying to defend against. Aren't they supposed to protect retail? How does defending themselves from a lawsuit from retail work with actually helping retail, right? How does it work with protecting retail? I don't think so, FINRA. Anyway, this is Syntax, Queen of the Metaverse. Check out her signs. She has brought a lot of people together in terms of metamaterials, in terms of stock symbol MMTLP, Next Bridge Hydrocarbons. She's brought a lot of the key players together in Twitter Spaces and in these Twitter chats that happen. So that's a face to the sound, and well, we all know what she looks like. But thank you, Syntax, for being there and being the glue that binds a lot of people together. Now here we see, of course, Terry Yonkers and Uncle Smokey. They got a selfie together, and again we see Terry Yonkers with the Marine XXX. Right there we go. The Marine is responsible for setting up the SEC2023, the Occupy SEC2023 rally event to talk about, hey, SEC, just do your job. We're not asking for heroics from you. We're asking you to just do your job. Now, what happened as a result of this event? Well, have a look at this. This general Twitter. As you can see, it was trending, and it became the number one trending item under business and finance in Twitter. Something to note about. Not only that, if we have a look, we can see that there was a truck. Here, Here's the truck that was going around. So that truck was circling the SEC with the sign continually adjusting. Thank you, Ham Short Killer, for sending the truck over. And yeah, it should be cool. This is, this Occupy SEC 2023 is not just for metamaterials and Next Bridge Hydrocarbons or stock symbol, or what used to be stock symbol MMTLP, although this is the most egregious one. There are other stocks that Ham Short Killer has identified, such as GTII, which, as you can see, has been shorted into oblivion. And of course, the truck is doing the loop around. Not only that, not only have people been protesting outside SEC headquarters in Washington, D.C., as we can see, we got coverage from Charles Payne and Fox News. Let's hear what they have to say.
All right, well, they're as mad as hell, and they are not going to take it anymore. And of course, I'm talking about retail investors who continue to fight against all the odds, against the billions of dollars of power and influence of hedge funds. Their goal is simply to make the system fair. Occupy SEC 2023 has a bunch of those folks. They've all gathered from all over the country. They're in Washington, D.C. today and tomorrow. And joining us live from the protests, Occupy SEC 2023, the organizer, Mike Miner. Mike, listen, I know you don't represent all the apes and all the individual investors out there. You're just a Marine who's trying to do the right thing, and I applaud you for it. Tell us what the main issues are.
Well, Charles, there's a lot of things that's happening in this market, and I've been here for a couple of years. We just see what these hedge funds, these banks and institutions are doing to us. It's not a fair market. It hasn't been a fair market for any of us retail investors. Frankly, we've just fed up. We're tired of it, and we want to see change happen. And so that was a part of me getting together and, gathering up and start talking about it about 5 or 6 months ago. And we need to get out here. We need to get boots on the ground, and that's exactly what we're doing out here. We probably got 75, 80 people out here, Charles.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of boots on the ground. Here's the thing. You talked about these hedge funds. So yesterday, South Korea imposed a $10 million fine on Citadel. They said they disrupted their market with high-frequency algorithms. Citadel made $16 billion last year. And I just wonder, do you believe the Securities and Exchange Commission will ever do more than maybe levy an occasional fine when it comes to these folks and make the excuses like they have been?
Well, that's exactly what they're doing. And, our hopes is we want to, what I want to call lobbying. All of us out here want to lobby against Congress, lobby against the SEC, because there's things that they can do. There's things that they have the access and the power to do. And that's why we're here, because one of the things is we want to see Congress put together a team of people that will actually investigate this, maybe put in some rules and regulations back into place that can stop the stuff that you just talked about, Charles. And it's only going to start with us demanding that.
Have you, boots on the ground are phenomenal. It works a lot. They always say, call your congressperson. Well, when you show up to someone's doorstep, they really pay attention. What are some of the other things, though, that you're trying to do in terms of organizational-wise? Because I feel like when I look through social media, it's a hodgepodge here and there. Every now and then they start arguing with each other. And I'm sitting back saying to myself, Ken Griffin is smoking a big Cuban cigar and laughing at everyone because you're not organized enough.
Well, you're exactly right. Well, one of the things that was put into the community since I've been around, Charles, I've been around in the community with you. I saw you from the beginning. I want to say, first off, thank you for supporting us. But the biggest thing that was the unity. People weren't put together. We weren't united, and there was a lot of separation. We were told that we couldn't unite together, and I think that's the biggest thing. The hedge funds, the banks, the politicians have done is kept us divided.
Right.
And one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I was going to say that one of the biggest reasons. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to even do Occupy SEC 2023 was to bring people together from all different communities of different stocks out there and let them know that we can unite.
Yeah.
That was the whole purpose of this.
Well, keep it going, get a little bit more organized, stop all the infighting, write some letters, and keep doing this. They'll hear your voice sooner or later. Thanks, Mike, and good luck with that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Charles, and thank you for taking the time out of your day.
You got it. All right, let me bring in now Real Talk Capital CEO, Rob Luna. And Rob, you work with individual investors all the time, and I'm sure the first thing they tell you is that the system is rigged, and they've seen it firsthand or they've heard about it. What do you tell folks like those at this rally? They're in the market. They may not own a whole lot of stocks, in part because they don't trust the system.
Well, you know, a couple of things, Charles. First off, you know, good for you because you're the only one that's really giving a platform to the average investor to allow them to talk about, you know, the crap they've been dealing with as little investors for a long time because no one's really looking out for them. But, you know, at the end of the day, what I tell them, Charles, is do what you're doing out there right now, write those letters and do those things, but get over this idea that Wall Street is rigged and you can't make any money because that's just simply not true. You have to have discipline, you have to educate yourself, you have to have a game plan, but if you go into it thinking you're gonna lose, more than likely, Charles, you're gonna lose, and as you and I know, you can definitely make money in this market, so I don't want new investors getting scared away by stuff like this.
I tell people I think its system is rigged to a degree and it's an unlevel playing field, but it's also the greatest money-making machine in history.
Exactly.
So if these folks can get things fixed, great, but don't miss out on it. And to that point, I want to give you props because you've been killing it. So you came on the show late last year. You came on the show earlier this year. I know far-fetched. You're up 45% on it. My question to you, are you going to hold that? Or are you going to let it ride? Or are you going to take profits?
Yeah, well, I'm glad because our folks on Twitter remember the buys, but they never know the sells. So I want to.
So I'm going to pause that. Okay, so we don't really care too much about this guy from Farfetched, but the fact of the matter is that when FINRA has its hand on the scales, when FINRA calls a U3 halt, sorry, that's rigging. That is an unfair, that is an unfair action because retail was about to win, and FINRA said, "Oh, we can't have that. We got to help our hedge fund buddies over here." That is criminal, and that needs to be taken care of. Okay, that needs to be undone. So thank you, Mr. Whatever Farfetched Ltd is. He's obviously living he's living in a dream. He's people are entitled to their dreams. Let's move on. Over here. We see this has been
the secret there. Meanwhile, President Biden ratchets it up the war on.
So I wanted to look at this because this is a trailer that Charles Payne was showing, and the trailer just goes out. It's like a 30-second thing, and it talks about the news and tries to get people interested to watch the Charles Payne show. So a lot of people more people generally see the trailer than see the show. So just the fact that this is on the trailer is kind of interesting.
The secret there.
To raise awareness.
Meanwhile, President Biden ratchets it up the war on business. Guess who's going to be the biggest victim? So if he can pull off everything he like. Steve Moore here to break that down for you at 2:30. And the retail investor revolution is at the SEC's door right now. I'll be talking to the organizer of the event you're looking at on the screen. Plus my takeaway on an elected leader that lost $300,000 on a single options trade. It's a luxury most Americans don't have. So how can our elected leaders have the time or gall to do that? All that and so much more on Making Money.
Okay, so that was a trailer. The reason that trailer is important is that it raises awareness and more people generally see the trailer than watch the show. So they thought Occupy Wall Street Occupy SEC 2023 was important enough to put on that trailer and raised awareness. But did you catch the start of that trailer? Let me go back.
The secret there. Meanwhile, President Biden ratchets it up the war on business.
So, darn it. So, at the start of that trailer, what we saw was a picture of the White House, but we also saw Chevron, right? Let's look at it again.
The secret there.
Here.
Meanwhile, President Biden.
So we saw Chevron over here. At $180, these guys got record profits, and they're reinvesting. Let me stop that. And Chevron is reinvesting $75 billion back into its own stock because the price of oil is going back up, and they know it. Okay, so moving on next, we got Uncle Smokey and Terry Yonker. Both have had live streams. If you want to catch their live streams, highly recommended. You can see what it's like there. You can see the energy that's there. You can see the number of people that's there. It's well worth it. And yeah, everyone is basically there, and everyone knows everyone. So great. It's really good. It's a good way for people to meet each other and say hi. So check out their live streams. It's really good. Yeah. Next, we're going to be talking about the Rosa to Will response, and we're going to be talking about FINRA's response to Rosa's response to FINRA's response, to the judge and FINRA's response. Okay, so this is the response. If you want to see what the response is, check out William M's tweet. Links will be provided, of course. He tweets, here's a link to the response, and you can download the entire thing. It's several pages long. And so I read the response, or I read a portion. Well, I read the response. I'll talk to you about what I read later. My initial take on this, I did, of course, tweet on, at the very first day the response came out. I said, it looks like it just restates claims of absolute immunity, which we know is not true. They do not have absolute immunity. They have immunity against monetary damages. And it also says that, the new info that's out there doesn't really matter. But it doesn't talk about it. What's glaringly obvious to me is what it doesn't talk about. It doesn't talk about short sales. It doesn't talk about the private Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares that cannot be paid out 1-to-1 to all MMTLP shareholders because of the short sales. And it does not talk about the fact that it's been over 40 days. It's closer to 50 days now. And still no one has Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares. We have placeholders in our accounts for those Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares. So that was my initial tweet, and that's my very, very quick take on it. Trading Secrets has a better take on it. Trading Secrets has, he's gone over it in detail. He's listed out 14 points that he thinks are key. I would check out his video. He's got a good video about it. Highly recommended. All his videos are good, actually. And he's very analytical, knows his stuff, and yeah. And as he said, he's got tons of experience in the game. He talks about how much experience. I'm just a nobody. I'm a guy on YouTube, and I ask that you learn for yourself. Don't rely on me. But this guy over here, he has got experience, and he cares that you know that he has experience. Okay, he's a good guy, really good guy. Very, very. Yeah, I highly recommend all of his videos. Highly recommend it. If you want to go over in-depth details, over excruciating detail about what the response is, we have Houston Wade. Houston Wade goes over it line by line, page by page, and my hat's off to you, Houston, because quite frankly, you got a hell of a lot more patience than I do. Anyway, he's got a great live stream. Check it out, Livestream 255. He will go over that. He reads the legal filings. Yay! Oh, man. And my take on it is, Houston, you're much more patient than I am. I don't have the patience for this, okay? My quick take on it, and I can only give you a quick take because it's just the way it is. FINRA is claiming absolute immunity, which is a load of BS, okay? They're also claiming that they are regulated by the SEC. So you cannot try to tell them what to do. They're already being told what to do by the SEC. Well, quite frankly, the SEC is a subset of the government, and the government can be told what to do by courts that the government has actually set up, called federal courts. So if a federal court can tell the SEC what to do, the federal court can also tell the SEC to tell FINRA what to do. So I don't know about this whole thing that FINRA is saying, hey, you cannot tell me what to do. You have no jurisdiction over me, which is basically what they're trying to say, right? They're saying, you will respect my authority. No, FINRA. Sorry about that. A federal court can tell federal agencies, including the SEC, what to do. The SEC does not have strict immunity from anything that a federal court says to do. And that's just life. Okay. Anyway, they claim that the U3 action is well within FINRA's rights as a regulator. And if you think about it, though, a U3 is an extraordinary event. It's very rare. So if you're going to take a U3 action, you better explain damn well what that U3 action was about. And if you're saying it's about a settlement problem, well, quite frankly, it's been about 50 days now. The shares are still not settled. Looks like your U3 failed. So you better fess up and say why you thought that would help. Okay, come on. We want to know, why would that help? Why would that help? Okay. Anyway, so here's the deal. I started reading this document, right? And FINRA is continually misunderstanding and or misrepresenting the situation. And it's just a load of BS. They claim the responsibility is for Next Bridge Hydrocarbons to distribute shares, and that FINRA has nothing to do with this. This is a problem with Next Bridge Hydrocarbons, right? But quite frankly, Next Bridge Hydrocarbons has already distributed the shares to AST, the transfer agent, and AST has transferred these shares, as has been allocated by the DTCC, to broker-dealers. Okay? The fact that there's not enough shares says that that one-to-one never took place because of short sales, right? When you have short sellers and short sales, you have additional shares that have come into existence while the short position is open. Until that short position closes, you have additional shares out there. That means that those additional shares cannot get a one-for-one. Let me repeat, those additional shares cannot get a one-for-one. And this FINRA response does not go over that. So to me, it's just like, quite frankly, it's like the response is just rhetoric, right? It's someone repeating over and over and over again the same thing, hoping that by the 100th time he says it, that you'll start believing it. And unfortunately, humans do start believing a lie if you repeat it often and often and often enough, right? That's the whole thing. It's a repeated misunderstanding. And FINRA is just going out of its way to repeatedly misunderstand the situation. And whether that's deliberate or because of stupidity, I don't know. I believe FINRA is stupid, but I also believe it's deliberate. So it could be both. Could be both. Okay. Previously, I was going to say, is it stupidity? Is it deliberate? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's both. There you go. But anyway, it does not address the fact that it was known by FINRA that there is short interest on the very last day of trading. In fact, they are the ones who reported the short interest of 9.5 million shares on their own website. And so it would be impossible for at least those 9.5 million shares to get that one-for-one dividend. It sounds to me, you know, like when you're a student in school or in college or whatever, and you got to take a test. And you didn't study. You have no clue. You were drinking the night before. You have no clue what the question's even asking. So you just start writing down a bunch of BS. And then you hand it to the teacher or the teacher's assistant. And you say, here you go. And you're praying and hoping you get something. And I can't stand reading that type of BS. Have I ever been a teacher? No. But if I were, and that's why I cannot be a teacher, and this is why I cannot be a teacher's assistant ever, because I can't deal with this BS. It's just pure BS. I lack the patience. I personally lack the patience to read too much BS. Okay, at some point I just say this is just so full of crap. I don't know whether it's because the guy's clueless, or whether the guy's just trying to pass some BS off as for some kind of grade. Who knows? It's a load of crap. I can't deal with that. Hats off to Houston Wade. Thank you for reading that BS, and thank you for explaining that BS to various people. I can't even stand to hear you read all this BS, to be honest. It's just a load of crap. Anyway, so all of that's been happening in the last few days. Things are moving along. And stuff I haven't mentioned is that, there looks to be some additional drilling coming along. We know that additional pay zones were found as of the last drill updates that happened, right? We know Greg McCabe is in the process of converting his additional oil and gas assets to Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares. We know that because an 8K was filed on December 27th of last year. This was after FINRA did its U3 halt, right? This is after FINRA did its U3 halt. So, Greg believes, I believe, that he thinks that it is it's better to have Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares than it is to have, those assets of oil and gas, right? So the Next Bridge Hydrocarbon shares could be worth more. Stuff I didn't mention too much is the fact that, the U.S. has been draining a strategic petroleum reserve, also known as SPR, and that has been depressing the price per barrel of oil. The result of that is we're at record lows, and it looks like they're going to turn off that SPR faucet. And what happens then? Well, the price of oil is probably going to go up. So what's happening as a result of that? Everyone knows the situation with the SPR. Let me repeat, everyone who's anybody knows the situation with the SPR. So companies like Chevron, who made $35 billion in profit recently, they've decided they're going to buy back their own shares. And they're not only are they going to buy back their own shares, they're going to buy back $75 billion worth of shares. $75 billion worth of shares. That's a lot of shares. Is it a good move? Yeah, I think so. their shares could be worth a lot more in the future. And certainly them spending whatever cash they have to buy back their shares means that when the price of those shares goes up, it will go up significantly stronger. The price of oil is going up, and things are looking good in the oil realm, in the energy realm. So that's all I have to say. This was a quick video. I did not think that I would be able to make a video. I'm around one video a week or so, it looks like. But if I do have the time, if I have some spare time, I might be able to crank out another video. But I think we're actually in pretty darn good shape. I think that there's a possibility that we'll get. I think there's a strong probability that we will get paid out. I think John Brda's silence is actually a good thing. When someone who's been relatively loquacious suddenly stops talking, there's probably a very, very good reason for that. His silence is a thunderous, is how the saying goes. Silence is a thunderous. So anyway, with that, let me just end by saying that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. And with that, goodbye. It is January 27th, 2023. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.